Regjeringen har besluttet at Norge vil anerkjenne staten Palestina. Norges anerkjennelse vil tre i kraft 28. mai. Norge vil med det anse Palestina som en uavhengig, selvstendig stat med alle de rettigheter og plikter som dette innebærer.
The most hostile to Israel. A title claimed by Norway after its recent stances regarding the aggression on Gaza. Norway's recognition was not the first rift in the two countries' relationship. Statements from Norwegian diplomats and officials sparked a severe diplomatic crisis with Israel. Tel Aviv even accused Norway of fueling anti-Semitism. Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide called in one of his statements for countries that export weapons to Israel to reassess themselves as they might be complicit in the genocide in Gaza.
We need to apply international law and international humanitarian law equally. If we see it violated by Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, we have to stand up and act. And if we see international humanitarian law violated in Gaza, we also have to speak up and stand up for these principles. And if we don't, we will contribute to the perception that there are double standards.
Norway was among the countries that continued funding UNRWA, despite 18 countries suspending funding for the agency based on Israeli claims. Norway also supported South Africa's lawsuit against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Norway considered the policies of occupation and its government as the main obstacle to any solution and peace in the region. Being one of the European countries that does not classify Hamas as a terrorist organization, Norway expressed readiness to engage in dialogue with the movement to reach a solution to end the war. Norway voted in favor of the United Nations resolution calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire leading to an end to the war, unlike its neighbors from northern countries who abstained from voting.
We need an immediate ceasefire. We need a rapid upscaling of humanitarian efforts. We have an appalling, tragic humanitarian situation in Gaza, and we are also, of course, also increasingly worried about developments in the West Bank and beyond, the risk for a regional escalation.
As a result, the Israeli ambassador in Norway made a strong worded statement, saying, "Israel will have to decide its partners after the war, and it is not certain that Norway will be among them." This was not his first criticism of Norway's policies, as he condemned Norway in one of the interviews for claiming that Israel violates international law.
He says, but what we're seeing over here is that from early stage, Norway was the first country in Europe to blame Israel for breaking the international law. We didn't. When you're listening the political leadership, they will say that Israel is breaking the international law. But international law is based on facts, not on assumption and not about feelings. And then when you're listening to most of the international law experts in Norway, they will say that either that Israel is not breaking the international law, or they will say that there are not any proof to prove that Israel really were breaking the international law. So why is it happening? If it's coming from political leadership and it's not coming from the expert, probably there's a little political motivation over there.
It is clear that the West is no longer a unified bloc, and pro-Palestinian grassroots movements have borne fruit, especially after Spain and Ireland recognized the Palestinian state.
Today's decision to recognize Palestine is taken to help create a peaceful future, because a two-state solution is the only way out of the generational cycles of violence, retaliation, resentment, hatred, where so many wrongs can never make a right. Just as Ireland's recognition as a state eventually led to the establishment of our now peaceful republic, we believe that Palestinian statehood will contribute to peace and to reconciliation in the Middle East.
El próximo martes 28 de mayo, España aprobará en su Consejo de Ministros el reconocimiento al Estado de Palestina.
Could this be the beginning of a Western consensus shift in support of Israel? Share your opinions in the comments.